Meeting to order. Okay, guys, let's bring this meeting to order. This is the August 12th Benefits and Organizational Development Committee meeting. And bringing to order. And welcome everybody. We don't have anybody put anything on. Okay, cool. All right, do we have any public comments for agenda topics?
No, sir, there are no public comments.
All right. Number 4 is review and discuss health insurance bid responses and health plan design and health insurance rates. Ms. Ida Reed and Raquel Cortez.
Thank you, Chair. Dr. Bertrand, senior team, members of the audience. So welcome committee members. We really appreciate you taking the time out, especially it was on the first day of school. And I'm sure you had a busy day today. So welcome, and we hope that you had a great day today on your first day. Do you want to introduce Ms. Hawkins, who will do a quick introduction, and then we'll kick it right back to us.
All right, well, thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. And so definitely hope everyone had a great first day today. We were super excited to welcome our students back to our district. Looking forward to a great year. So thank you for being here. We just wanted that opportunity to visit once again. We met here a few weeks ago, and so we just love that opportunity for further dialogue, and certainly want to allow the committee an opportunity to participate, to ask any questions you may have, and just participate in the conversation. So thank you all again for being here. We greatly appreciate your time. Turn back over to Ms. Ida and Ms. Rachel.
Thank you, Ms. Goggins. So today we do have Mr. Scott Gibbs. He is back again to do a quick little refresher on what was presented at our last committee meeting. And then after he concludes his presentation, then we will have some time to get some feedback from everybody on your thoughts on the proposal, as well as answer any questions that you may have. So.
Good. And I just wanted to say we're going to welcome everybody. Of course, you know who I am. I'm Rachel Cortez. I'm your director for employee benefits. And Scott is going to, like Ms. Ida said, go briefly over it. And we're going to start off on page 5 of your packet.
So I think, everybody knows, we did have a formal request for proposal for third-party administrative services for the medical and the pharmacy. And, currently we use Blue Cross and Blue Shield. I've done this presentation and kind of shown you, and we did a BAFO between really Blue Cross and United Healthcare. Everything, the way it came out, it was really Blue Cross was the best option for the district to stay with. And so, once we kind of had that decision, then, we needed to talk about kind of where the costs were, what, and what do we need to do for next year. As, we finished the fiscal year this year, we were about 1.3, 1.4 in the red, but we will be recouping about $750,000 from Blue Cross as they inadvertently, they paid they paid for obesity medication starting in January. We had checked the box that we were not covering the obesity. Somebody just forgot to push the button over there. And so when we noticed that, we went back to them, and so we should be getting those dollars back. So that puts us probably in the red somewhere around probably 500 or 50,000.
And Scott, just so the committee is aware, the BAFO is the best and final offer.
Best and final offer, sorry.
Best and final offer, and the reasoning for Blue Cross being the best selection for our group would be because of the rebates or?
No, it's really when we look at this, we look at the overall cost, and one of the main things we look at too is we look at the network discounts and really the total cost, total cost of care. Down here in the valley, Blue Cross has a very strong network. They also, they were very competitive when it came to their administrative fee and their rebates on the pharmacy side.
So the network discount, meaning just for the committee, is when you go to the doctor, you have your copay Well, there's a contracted amount that that doctor has, or that pharmacy has with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. So we don't pay that full price. There's a discounted rate, so that network discount superseded
Yes,
United,
yeah.
United's
Yeah,
discounts.
and they were, I mean, they were close. UHC did put a very good bid in, but, Blue Cross was the best option to continue with. There'll be no disruption, to the employees. So,
And sorry, Scott, so I didn't mean to interrupt. Does the committee have any questions or concerns with the Blue Cross recommendation? Mr. Almanza? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Not at the moment.
and it, again, it'll be seamless. There'll be no breaking coverage or anything. We will talk a little bit here in a minute about kind of some benefit options and kind of what we need to look at. We did put on page 6, just wanted to show you guys kind of what our current coverages are like. And during this process, and I think you guys remember, I had some slides that showed kind of where we were versus TRS from a benefit standpoint and from a cost standpoint. In this presentation, we have the most current month of claims through June. And actually, I updated those slides, and our numbers actually came down versus TRS. So.
So Teacher Retirement System offers a state plan to a lot of the districts across the state. I believe they cover about 1,100 or more than 1,000 districts.
Yeah,
And when you go into that state plan, the district will be bound to them for about 5 years. So when we're self-funded, so we as a district have the option to negotiate with ourselves. We can add and take out benefits. We look at the rates, and we have a say as a district what those rates look like, what those benefits look like. A state plan is standard. It's canned. We would have no say in those, but we compare ourselves to Teacher Retirement System. There was a time many years ago we had to do a comparability report. That's no longer required because of the Affordable Care Act. But we had to compare our plan to the state's plan and report to Teacher Retirement that the district had a comparable plan.
Yeah, and it's, in TRS every year, you're kind of, you're held at ransom with them because it depends on what the legislature does, how many dollars they're going to put in. There's two levers. The two levers we really have are what are the contributions and then what are the benefits. What's nice about being self-funded is, we can work with Blue Cross. We can also pick and choose programs that help us with diabetes, obesity, things of that nature, which kind of help reduce the cost. So we're always, always presenting to the board and to, just to let them know kind of where TRS is and where we are versus TRS, and the district's health plan and what you guys pay is far better than what is out there through TRS. So I think you can see we right now we currently have 3 plan options. We have our low plan, our high plan, and our HDHP plan. And I think in our HDHP plan we have like 2 or 3 people.
So the HDHP plan is a high deductible health plan. That means that those individuals would have to pay the deductible first before the percentages kick in. The plan would pay 30%. And why would people choose the high deductible health plan as opposed to the regular PPO? Because with a high deductible health plan, there is something called a health savings account that's tied to that, and those are driven by the government. You have to have that. You have to be enrolled in that plan to have that HSA health savings account. Some of you may remember it as a Benny card. It's something similar, but the difference between the FSA and the HSA is that with the HSA, when you leave the district, you can take those monies with you. With the FSA, those funds are forfeited if you haven't used them. So some people, we have a small group of people that would prefer to, have that. And usually we see individuals who don't need a lot of health care, who don't need major treatment, who go into these plans because they know the value of the HSA and they want to take those monies with them when they leave the district.
So if you turn to page 7, this is kind of where we talk about plan options. I think you guys will remember I presented this, and actually these numbers have come down. You know, they've come down a bit. I reran the numbers, reworked them with, you know, taking out the obesity claims that were there. So, you know, as I said, we're showing that, you know, we finished, and again, I have assumed the 750,000 in here, showing that, you know, we ran in a deficit of probably around 565,000. We finished the year at about 22.8 million total. What we're showing that we need for next year is about 23.2 million. So the delta, and I think before when we were talking, when I came and presented back in May, the delta was about 1.8 million. We're at about 930,000. So
In the deficit.
in the deficit. And so what we need to do is we need to try to find the 930,000 so we can make the plan solvent, you know, and it funds itself. So, you know, we talked a little bit. I had proposed 3 options, and so I was able to adjust the options a little bit because we didn't need as many dollars as we thought we did. So, you know, option one would be moving to one plan. Right now we have I think we have about 75 employees that are on the high plan. You know, if we move to one plan, we do lose contributions that they're putting in because they pay more, but the actual benefit differential of the low plan versus the high plan outweighs it outweighs the contributions that we give up. So to the tune of about $500,000.
So basically, Scott, employees will be paying more for their healthcare. Those that are on high plan, they have a lower deductible, and the percentage is an 80-20 plan, and the plan pays 80%, and the employee pays 20, like for hospital stay. So when they move over to the standard plan that we have right now, it would be a 70-30, which means a higher deductible, which means they would have to pay more out of pocket for those co-pays for the pharmacy, for the doctor, for maybe a hospital stay outpatient.
But their contributions would go down
To the low plan.
from a paycheck basis. So they would pay more in the benefits as they used it, but coming out of their paycheck would be the lower amount. And so, you know, before in option one, I had that, and then, you know, basically, you know, had the option of going to one plan, and then we were gonna have to change the co-pays to the doctors, raise it a little bit, but because we needed less, I was able to give that back. So option one, which makes us whole, would be going to one plan, and then raising the co-pays on the pharmacy. It's currently $15.35.65. We would raise it to $25.45.75. And I mean, you guys know from the past meetings, and if you have come to past meetings, really the prescription drug benefit is, you know, that is, prescription drug is trending, you know, somewhere, you know, between 10 and 12% on the low side. You know, probably 10 years ago, 12 years ago, if we had a group and they were running, their pharmacy spend was 15 to 18% of the total spend, we consider that to be a really, you know, well-running plan. Now what we're seeing is with a lot of the specialty pharmaceuticals that are out there, the GLP-1s, or the diabetic drugs, you know, we're seeing pharmacy spend, you know, as high as 35% on some of ours. And so I think by moving the co-pays, you're still providing a really solid pharmacy plan. And you know, by doing those two things, by eliminating the high plan and raising the pharmacy copays by $10, that makes us whole, so we wouldn't have to change anything on a contribution basis. The other option we would have would be to continue to offer both plans, and we would have to adjust the deductible a little bit. So we would, we would adjust the deductible up by about $500 for the employee and $1,000, on the low plan. So it would go from $1,750 for an employee to $2,250, and then it would go from $3,500 up to $4,500 for a family, up to $4,500. And the out-of-pocket maximums would go up, would go the same amount. Then we would also do the prescription copay. The high plan, we would keep it, but again, we would raise the high plan by $500 on the employee, so it would go from $1,250 to $1,750, and it would go from $2,500 to $3,500. Again, we would do the RX change. So if we wanted to keep both plans and we made the two changes to each plan, the high and the low plan, that gets us where we need to be. And any questions around that? And again, to be clear, contributions would stay the same, so we would still have the low plan offering the low plan. Employee only would be zero. So
And the high plan.
in the high plan, and the high plan, the contributions would stay the same. So,
Any questions or concerns? I'm sorry. About so far what you all have heard?
Rachel, I'm trying to track where you're specifically the bottom line on page 7, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Where are we on page 7, bottom line? I thought you said something.
so bottom line, so at the top, I think you can see, so we've got what our 2025 contributions are. So right now, we're bringing in about 22.2, almost 22.3 million. So we finished the year, at 22.8 million. So what we need for 2026 is we need 23.2 million. So if we don't, so about $1 million. So if we don't raise the contributions at all,
No, I did
yeah,
that.
we gotta find that.
I
So,
guess what I'm looking for is the plan,
The plan changes.
bottom line of the plan.
Yeah,
we're talking about.
okay, so bottom line, so the bottom line of plan changes, on option 1, it would be, we would eliminate this high plan down here. We would keep the low plan, and then the low plan would, the only change on the benefits would be that the pharmacy copays,
25, 45,
yes, sir.
That would lead us to the 479, 250.
Yes, so-
532.
So at the end of the day, because, we have like 60 people in this, so obviously if we move them here, and we go up on we get a little bit more. So the column 1 is if we stay with 2 plans, and then column 2 is if we just offered 1 plan.
So if I can just clarify, so on the first line item, it says deductible, currently we have it at $1,750 for individual, $3,500 for family. The recommendation would be, you change that to $2,000 for individual, $4,000 for family.
The 22.
The first one, the first line item right here.
Yes, that's the first line
The
item.
first
right,
line
yeah,
item.
but that doesn't get us quite, where we need to be.
Right, but just to do the flow, going back to the out-of-pocket, right now we have it at $5,000 for individual, $10,000 for family. The recommendation would be $5,250 for individual, $10,500. And so if we have the 2 plans, we're looking at a savings of $230,000.
Right.
It's at $175 if we have both plans, but if we have only 1 plan, the low plan, we would save $247,500. So that's how the flow is for those changes. Does the committee, do I need to explain further? I can bring it up if I need to. So that's how the flow is going. So the next one is you raise the deductible up higher. And of course, like anything else, when you raise the deductible, like with me, when you buy house insurance, and you get your renewal and it's really high, you gotta start making cuts here and there, and they raise the deductible, and, you know, do I really need this, or I really need that? And that's basically what we're looking at, is we're looking at deductibles where we're at now, being raised to, bring us where we need to be, to, you know, have enough to face the deficit that we're facing, to try to clear that up, try to even that.
And Scott, you're saying, if looking at the low plan column, if we were to only make changes in the copays,
Pharmacy
which is
coaches.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th line, just that copay only, we would have, for 2 plans, $479,000 savings.
Right, if we kept the two coaches, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. And so, you know, what we were trying to do too is knowing that the state gets some raises, what we were really trying to do is hold the contributions and really not, and try not to affect the benefits, you know, as much as possible. And even with the increase in the deductible, the plan is still much richer than what you get with TRS. You know, and the difference, you know, in why the weight and the value is different when it comes to like a deductible and a copay, you're always gonna get more, you're gonna get more savings from changing the copay, because it's what we call first dollar coverage, okay? That means, you know, you go to the pharmacy, right there, it's gonna go from 15 to 25. Now, the deductible, obviously, deductible is you use it as you go, right? So, you know, you may use the plan just for copays for the whole year, and you're not affected at all, you know, by the deductible. So that's why there's a different kind of value on each of the benefits and kind of, you know, what you do.
Sorry, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, will this affect people that purchase, will this affect the generic and the name brand, as far as you can get certain products as generics, but if you change the copay on the pharmacy, will it eliminate some of the generic
No,
ones?
It will not. So the formulary, the preferred drug list that we have with Prime will stay the same. So it's just, you know, right now, and for instance, if you're taking a generic and the generic, you know, costs less than $15, they only charge you what the cost is of the drug. That all's the same. But if you went in and you went in and got a Z-Pack, you know, a generic Z-Pack, you would pay $25 instead of $15. So,
But if you're paying currently something for $15, a current medication, then you would see that $5
You would,
increase.
yes.
It would go to 20.
and any of the drugs, you know, any of the drugs that are covered at $0 coverage for preventive care, would still be covering.
And to clarify, you do the 20 as long as it's not like $16 or something like that, you know, so it just depends on what the pricing is, obviously.
I have a question.
And then, yes, Mr. Professor.
One of the drugs, Ozempic,
Ozempic.
Ozempic, supposedly some of our employees are taking the drug, and then Blue Cross denies them on the second or third refill or something. And the doctor is telling the patients, you need to show improvement, and they are, but still Blue Cross Blue Shield is denying the refill on that drug. Why is that?
Does that have to do with the obesity?
Maybe
Well,
because
so
of the
there's a-
diagnosis.
There's a couple of things. So, you know, a new drug came out at the end of last year in January called Zepbound, which the diagnostic category for it is obesity management. So you have two types of drugs, and I'm not a pharmacist, but you've got, right now, you got the GLP-1s,
Which is your diabetic.
which are your diabetic drugs, so that's gonna be, you know, Ozempic and those. And so that with Blue Cross, you have to have a type 2 diagnosis as a type 2 diabetic, and I think your A1C level has to be
6.1.
0.1. So you've got that line of drugs. Then what happened was, when we had our renewal, we fill out what's called a BPA, application. It's Blue Cross application, and we check all the boxes as to this is how we're gonna do. And, we did not, we did not check, we checked not to cover, drugs for weight management. That's, I'll tell you, probably 99% of my clients don't cover it for weight management. Somehow, it went at Blue Cross when there was somebody sitting there loading it, they checked the wrong box, and so, we figured that out probably at the beginning of June. So Prime corrected that, so we could have had a situation where a person was getting Zepbound for the first 6 months of the year, which technically they really shouldn't have been getting it. And then when we found out, there was a date that it did get cut off.
But going back to the Ozempic medication, if you could let that person know to contact me, I would rather deal with them individually, because I can contact Blue Cross and get more information, and just for their privacy, it'll just be me with that individual. Because there's other things that come into play, and it could be, there's a misunderstanding, or needing paperwork, or something to that effect, because it is a costly medication, and it could be just pre-authorization documentation from the doctors required. And so that's my role, and if you can just let that person know, and it could be that this individual taking Ozempic, maybe they were doing it for a different reason, and the pharmacist of the Prime, our pharmaceutical company, is wanting to know more information. But it is still covered, with the criteria, you have to have the diagnosis of the A1C, there has to be documentation showing that you're in need of that medication.
I had a fast question, and maybe we haven't gone to it, but did we get to option 3 yet?
No.
Making
So
that
Scott,
one.
and just so that the committee will know, good story, right? That's only half of what we need. We still need more money by implementing one of those plans, is that correct?
Yeah, so,
Does that make sense?
yeah, so for us to, at a minimum, and again, we can choose different things, but mix and match, but at a minimum, we would need to either do option 1 or option 2 to make up the 930,000. Now, we do have the option with Frontier Direct, where they're estimating, their savings to be kind of, between like 2.6 and 2.7 million.
Can I clarify?
Yes, sir.
You said we have to do option 1 or option 2 to make up the
Yes.
930,000, but the data here doesn't show that it makes up, it's only half.
No, so if you look down here in yellow, option 1, with the RX and with eliminating the high plan,
Okay.
we make up the million, yeah. And
Got it.
the revenue,
Thank
yeah,
you.
sorry.
And I just wanted to add, currently the district pays $502.18 per employee per month, they're enrolled in the health plan. And I know on there's this other savings revenue right above the color coded. That could be something the district can consider, is raising the contribution. I don't know the financials pieces of it, but that could be another, it's an option there for the board to consider, for the committee to consider, but of course, looking at our financials.
Yeah, I was gonna, I know budgets for school districts have been super tight. And so, so my approach here was to let's keep the best plan so that the district, still has, an affordable, great plan that is of value to the employees, but also doesn't have to raise, the contributions over here, so you guys can use them.
To this extent, you
Yeah,
don't wanna raise.
Because you can use the
any
money for what you
contributions
really
to
need to be,
employees right now.
using that. But I will say this, and because there's been some talk, and I'm gonna just say it, and just because it's my job, but, if we went to $10 a pay period, so it'd be $20 a month, that gets us about probably 490,000. So, so, doing that and going to one plan, picks everything up, without probably doing anything to the pharmacy. I professionally, let me say, I think, and it's not because I wanted to stick it to the employees or anything, I just think that pharmacy costs are going up. because I can tell you when I show you, when I show you on a pie graph, year over year, and I show you, so, with the copays and everything, you think, okay, district's picking up 85% of the pharmacy, that's great, and then you don't change that copay, and then the next year, that 85 goes to 90, and then it goes to 92, just by sheer nature of the drug costs are going up. So.
And Scott, to clarify, you're talking about doing a $20, not just for low plan, but all tiers. It would have to be a
Yes.
$20 increase
Yeah.
on all the tiers that we have available.
Well, I just,
come up to the
so the
493.
493 was just because I based that off of 1900 and,
We have about 1965 or 64.
yeah, so the extra ones, yeah, so, because I was including it
So,
just on the singles.
so we have about 1,964 employees on employee-only loan plan, so they pay zero for that health plan. So in Scott's numbers, he's only having those individuals pay $20. And with those individuals only paying $20, you're coming up with a $493,000
Right.
a year.
Yeah, so if we did it on everybody, that number would, it would be, because what do we have, 20,
We have about 25, 75, or 25,
So, I think on my report it was 25.
and that's just an option, to consider.
I think that the pleasure of the board, and I don't want to speak for the board, but all the conversations that we've had up to now is to hold true to
Right.
our 0.
And that's why I did not have it on here, I just
Yeah, I
wanted
appreciate
to.
that, thank you.
Well, and it's also, what I'll say too, is it's also another lever you have down the road,
Well, it's a double-edged sword, not double-edged sword, it works two ways, because we're talking about insurance here, but even as attracting other teachers to our
Absolutely.
district, there's a lot of districts that actually require them to pay. And in fact, teachers that go to other districts, they don't take that into consideration, they're actually getting less take-home pay
Right.
because they didn't take this into consideration, they're paying out of pocket for the insurance.
I have one of my daughter's best friends, and the parents are best friends with us, and she is the number 2 person in unnamed DISD and like HR, and she emailed me and said, can you find me other insurance? They have 3 kids, and I'm like, Michelle, I don't do individual stuff, and it's tough. I mean, TRS you bring up a very good point, because you may leave this district and go to this district, and you may make 5% more, but when you turn around and look, if you have a family and you look at what benefits you're gonna pay, you're losing money. I mean,
I know people that
yeah.
happen to.
And I do, and what I'll say is, no matter, if you go option 1 and you make the pharmacy change, you go option 2 and you do the deductibles and the pharmacy, you still have, I guarantee you have one of the best plans of any school districts in the valley. Yeah, probably, honestly. I mean, because if you think of it, I think last track I had, there was only 5% of the districts that aren't in DRS. And you guys we've had many that have wavered and talked about going back in, but even though last year was tough, you still go back over the years and you look, and you guys definitely made the right decision, going self-funding, so.
We're going to page 9.
So
Yeah.
Scott, Rachel, do you have an option for a combination or a hybrid between option 2 and option 3?
We don't, but, so, I put option 3 here as a standalone, it is we talked about it, it's with Frontier. We could do, honestly, you could do option 1, option 1 with option 3, you could do option 2 with option 3. So it's not, for instance, they have to stand alone. So, at the end of the day, when we talk about Frontier,
Going to page 9.
yeah, if you go to page 9, 10. Yeah, if you go to 10, so Frontier Direct is, they are an advanced primary care, direct primary care solution. So they come in, you would have access to their clinics. They would help, direct care, help negotiate and get you to the highest quality, lowest cost provider. And what happens is, there's a cost associated with them. But as we're funding our claims, what happens is when our employees, and again, you don't have to go to Frontier. You can keep your primary care, you do whatever you want. But the clinic, when you set it up, it's a $0 copay. So you're taking down barriers. There's no copay. You go in there. So what happens is as they start seeing members, those claim costs come out of the Blue Cross bucket and they go in to a bucket for Frontier, okay? And so what ultimately happens is, and they guarantee their savings, and ultimately what happens is that in 90 days when they're up and ramped up, what you're paying them is at least what you were paying Blue Cross, but it's really not, because it's less expensive than where Blue Cross is. Also, you get the added benefit of them helping direct care, also making sure that you have more people going to them because it is a $0 copay.
So basically, Scott, just to
Yeah.
clarify, so if I were to go to Frontier, my claim would not be processed through Blue Cross and Blue Shield. It would be processed through Frontier, and it's kind of like a cash basis sort of menu pricing, that through the fees that they charge us, that's how they're making their payment for
Right,
that.
that,
And then
yes.
they negotiate with other
Right.
specialists to accept that Medicash type of menu pricing. And so none of those claims will be processed through Blue Cross. That's why the district is not spending that money on that
Right.
claim.
And one thing about the Valley is this is their headquarters, this is where they are. So they have a lot of contracts with the providers down here already. So it is, it is an added benefit that at a minimum is cost neutral. And I hesitate to say it's cost neutral because it's really not, because there is savings by driving the care there. And they also too, with specialists, they have contracts with a lot of specialists in the Valley that Blue Cross has contracts with. So they're not disrupting any referral patterns or anything of that nature. And advanced primary care is a big topic. It's a big topic in the state and nationally, because as we get down the road and we always used to talk about, it's network discounts, and really they've pretty much gotten all the blood out of those turnips. So really what it comes down to is employee engagement, making sure they have access to primary care, taking the barriers down for that, because at the end of the day, I think as Fern says, you may have one of your lowest wage earners or whatever, and they may say, I don't feel great, but I'm going to pay $25, and whereas maybe if it was $0, they would go in and all of a sudden, up front, if you can catch a hypertensive person before they become a heart attack, you may see a bump in utilization there, but if you're catching them, I think the value, you save somebody's life, valuable person, and B, you're getting them healthier, and they're going to feel better, and they're going to probably work better, and
And just to clarify, the Frontier Direct Care, it is direct care, what it is, right? But there is a fee associated with it. It's called per employee per month, meaning that the district will be billed regardless if you use the plan or not. And the way I believe it was proposed to us, it was $80 for employee only, $160 for employee and children, and $240 for employee and family. So that equates to about $3 million a year, that separate and apart, that we need to be paid to Frontier Direct to implement. Now, the way it was proposed was that should we apply for a grant, and the only way we can apply for the grant is if we implement the telehealth for students. And that grant could possibly offset most of those costs, if not all of it, but grants are not guaranteed. I know we've heard that before. You know, we've heard about federal funding being delayed or not, not being given. So at the end, the way I understood it is that the district would still be responsible for those fees, meaning that, that we would have to come up as a district for $3 million. Now, I do need to say that our health insurance fund doesn't have a surplus of $3 million, that we can just say, yes, it's something that, we need to consider very seriously as a committee, and that fee piece, yes, it is a good benefits and good information, but, and I'm not saying either way, I
And
just want to be clear.
I do want to be clear because there is a $3 million fee, but you're gonna see $3 million less out of your Blue Cross bucket. So it's not an additional budget line item of $3 million.
So, there also, you mentioned the word guarantee. So are they guaranteeing that if we don't see that reduction, that they would make up the
They will,
difference?
they will write a check.
They'll write a check.
Yes.
It wouldn't be credits for the following year.
I mean, it could, I think that would be open for negotiation.
If you were happy
Right,
with it.
yeah. Right.
So I guess I'd be more interested in learning more about how much teeth that guarantee has. Because I know they believe in what they
Right.
do. And that would
Yeah, because
help us with the risk.
yeah,
And Scott, this contract, what number, the way I understood it would be a 3-year contract,
yes, yeah,
so $3 million a year, but then going back to Mr. Gal's point of having the guarantee in writing,
right.
and contractual.
Yeah,
what's the
and-
difference in that?
Yeah, and it, again, again, I think we can look at this a couple of ways. I think for September, and again, if I'm wrong, someone throw something at me, but we need to make a decision on the health plan.
That's one thing.
That's one thing, because she's gotta get going on enrollment stuff, so as the consultant, I would say, I think we as a collective group need to think about option 1 and option 2, and then I think as far as Frontier goes, I think we can have further conversations, and I'd love to, which report of it, I'd love to have them in, and you guys, you guys hear it from the horse's mouth, because, Leander ISD's with them, and they've had a very good experience. Adams Town, in Austin, so, I do, like I said, I think it would benefit, if, I don't call it a work session or whatever, or what you call it, but I think it would be beneficial to have them in, and then you guys as the board and committee, you can ask them questions, and feel comfortable, whether you do or not. I think, like I said, I think as far as the plan goes, I think, I think we can do that, and then at the end of the day, the Frontier could be additional savings that go back into the reserve, and, as Rachel said, the potential of getting a grant, with that.
Let's stop. So basically, we should focus on page 7. You want us to kind of talk about option 1, and 2, or 3. Just put that on the back board, throw it down, as far as Frontier goes.
Yeah, well, when I say back burner, I use, maybe side burner, but, it's just option 1, and, yeah, I do think, I think we need to, as a committee, kind of make a recommendation. If you ask me what I think, I would probably go with option 1. You know, I would go to one plan, you've got, you know, essentially you've probably got less than 5%, you know, on the high plan. I think, you know, I think the savings that they're going to get on contribution, they could probably put those dollars aside, you know, for the increase in the deductible to the low plan. But, because I think by eliminating that and then making the pharmacy change, and I think most employees understand, they see in the news that pharmacy costs are going up. And I think, and we have not raised, you know, co-pays, you know, in many years. Option one, to me, is, I think option one is the best for the overall most people.
And Scott, Dr. Macy, if I can ask another question. What would it look like as far as the dollar amount? Should a recommendation be keep everything the same, the health plans, the high and the low plan, the rate is, no rate increase? I'm sure that's a deficit of some kind, but.
It's about, it would be about 930,000, be about $1 million. Now, you know, last year we had a rough year. Could we have a better year? Yes, but my job is not to look, it's not to guess, My job is to go with the data. I'm very data driven. And at the end of the day, I would love it if we ran $1 million to the good, because then we would have funds that would be back in reserve.
Any questions from the committee, Dr.
I
Rogers?
would love to hear from the employees, what's your reactions to plans, whether, just anything, I would love to hear from you all.
I use the plan all the time, when they go to the doctor's office.
So I am seeing like option one, that it is, the deductible will increase, and of course, the doctor visits, but I can imagine like anything, it does go up, right? I like the idea that they're trying to keep it no cost to the employees. I think that brings a lot of value to that, especially for retention of employees here in our district, and that, I mean, even for the morale of the employees, right? Hey, we have this at least here in our district, we still provide that, so that's a big plus.
Do you feel like the high-low plan is necessary, or would you go to one plan?
I don't know, like, the number of percentage on the high plan is,
We have about 75 employees on the high plan, maybe about 100 members, because some will cover their families.
if I was in a high plan, I would be able to answer that question. I'm not at that high plan. I always go with the low plan, but it would be nice to find out what people in the high plan would think about it.
I do the high plan, and I've gone back and forth on it, basically, depending on what's going on with me. I had surgery to my knee back in February, so when I re-signed last September, I went back up to the high plan, because I knew I was gonna be utilizing the deductible and all of that. And I only cover myself, my children are adults now, and my husband is insured by, City of Harlingen, he's a firefighter. But I think giving individuals that option, I mean, we can't know necessarily when we may need it, but for things that we do know, existing conditions, like, I'm probably gonna have surgery on my other knee as well. So in that case, having that option, I think, I've used it. So from my standpoint, I think it is a viable option for those people who know that they're going to be needing some type of surgery or something that's gonna be, more than you contemplate regularly.
And do you feel like that comfort, and I know those are tough decisions, is worth the $1 million savings? And I know that I'm asking you like the impossible, right?
I mean, for me, it has been, because I know then my deductible's not gonna be as high. And not knowing whether or not the surgery goes well, if I have complications, that's always, something's in the back of anybody's mind that goes through surgery. So,
In the 75, it's roughly 3% of our.
The other question is, I know we used to call it the Benny card. Would that increase, if the deductible is increasing, would that amount increase how much we can put into it too?
That is driven by the Internal Revenue Service, so the budget doesn't have control over that maximum.
I should know this off the top of my head,
I don't have the number.
but the Big Beautiful Bill did increase the amounts that you can put into
And that helps.
flexible
also
spending and health savings.
For the deductible, I always max out the deductible on that card so I can bill, so
It's
that
usually
would
like
help out too.
3,700 or
Yeah,
1,000, but that is IRS regulated, every year, every calendar year. Mr. Olivo, Mr. Almanza?
You don't know what, like, I know she's on the high plan, and we have 76 individuals on the high plan. And what I guess they get on it like Ms. Artanovich was saying, because I guess they save money on it. I don't know if you have data to show actually how much money they're saving, but also do people get on the high plan only like once a year because they're gonna have a baby? And then the other years they go back to the low plan, or vice versa, like, is it constant 76 all the time on the high plan?
Pretty
Or do
average.
people,
Yes, it's pretty much. I don't know if it's the same people, because I'm looking at numbers every month. And so, in comparison, it could be 75, it could be 80. I don't have like a large number migrating. Like 1 year I won't have 200, you know what I mean? It's just
been
pretty steady. It's usually people who are leaving the district and we're hiring them during open enrollment, like Mrs. Martinovich said. They know they're gonna have surgery in February, so they wanna, get that, more, lower deductible and take more advantage of the lesser amounts they have to pay out. It just depends, but it's pretty steady.
Anybody else?
Particular reactions to the pharmacy change. I don't know if you've already heard that.
I think it's, I think it's high already. There are some medications that our insurance does not cover. I'm having to pay out of pocket for formularies, so I think $75 is a big copay. But that's just from my experience and what I've had to have prescribed.
Does Frontier cover the RX piece?
They do, so they do, and they have their own Frontier Direct RX, so they actually, that's part of the cost, and that's part of the savings. They'll do next day mail order back to the clinic.
Is there a way to take, like sample size, 5 to 10 of actual cases in our district, no names, but to see if those drugs fit with?
Yeah, no, I mean, I can certainly ask them to run, I can ask them to run a pharmacy analysis. It's normal, and I will give them I can just give them our top drug listing, and they can
If
tell
you're doing a
us.
change in costs on the plan, but then offering this alternative, that might
Right.
stack them up low.
Under those prescriptions, that if they were to be run with Frontier, does it have to be from one of the doctors in Frontier, or can it be prescribed from their regular practitioner?
Great question. I'll have to ask them. I try to think of every question that I gotta, but yeah, I'll ask them.
I don't think it would make a difference because you're
I
using
don't
a card,
Yeah.
kind of, your PIN number and all that stuff. So I don't think that.
I don't either, I don't wanna.
In your packet, you have just a breakdown on our website of the premiums, what they look like right now, and just an overview of what the deductible is and, from the low and the high plan. So in September, once we bring forward the health plan for consideration, we would also bring forward the health insurance rates as well.
Yeah, and as of right now, we're not
We're not looking at
proposing
any
any
increase.
changes to the contribution side of the house.
Any other questions for the committee?
I have one more question. The option 2 below it is high deductible, so option 2, is option 2 line?
I just ran, yeah, no, It's,
On page 7?
yeah,
Yes.
so that so that would be, we would still, we'd still keep the high deductible.
I'm sorry, say that one.
We would still, so option 2, we would keep all 3 plans. Because we have the high deductible health plan right now, there's only 3 people on
We have the high plan and the regular low
So
plan.
it's not, so the option 2 is having, I'm gonna say the 2 plans not changing, no, changing the amounts
it. Yeah, so we would, so,
and changing the.
so option 2, we change the deductible. Option 2, we change the deductible and the pharmacy
And
coverage
both, okay.
on the high and the low plan.
So did y'all get any kind of straw poll to see what people are?
If you're doing it for us, that's good.
I'm sorry.
No, that's great.
I mean, do y'all have an opinion about, which, if you had to vote, which ultimately we gotta vote, we gotta balance the budget. Would you pick option 1 or option 2 at this point? The savings isn't, it's negligible at that level, right? To get to the $1 million we need either way, right? So it's really, you wanna have a high and low plan, plus increases in pharmacy deductibles.
So on option 1, it just increases the co-pays for the pharmacy, but the deductible stay the same?
No, the deductible.
No, they,
No,
the same
in
amount.
in option 1, the only thing that changes in option 1 is the pharmacy copays.
The deductible isn't, I thought it was $1,700.
So the deductibles do stay the same?
Deductible stay the same in option
This is-
1.
It says 2,000 there, so it
No,
doesn't
there's
say
an
the
increase
same.
in- so there's an increase in deductible.
Yes.
Oh, that's not. That's, that's a typo.
That's the typo. So option 1 is a typo. So plan deductible, you're recommending 1750.
Yeah, because we did, yes, because,
We keep the 1750? Yes.
yes.
And what about the out-of-pocket, does it go up 500?
No, the out-of-pocket would stay the same too.
So out-of-pocket would be
Yeah. Sorry about that.
5,000,
Yeah.
and then out-of-pocket would be the.
Yeah, so that, so,
10,000.
so, yeah, so option 1, because with the eliminating, we get the 513, with the RX, we get the 532,000. So, yeah, there's no change to the current deductible or out-of-pocket.
What about the co-pays, stuff, 33?
No, co-pays would stay the
Okay,
same.
so then I scratched that out and just.
For plan
But
1,
that would make a big difference on that then.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, what we were seeing, everything the same as that.
so just to recap for option
Sorry,
1,
yeah.
yes, just to recap, option 1, the plan deductible stays the same for the low plan, but we're only gonna have one plan. And the out-of-pocket, is 5,000, family is 10,000, the co-pays is 30, 45, and the RX, Scott, is it gonna stay the same?
No, the RX goes up.
It goes up,
That's the only thing that changes.
but the high plan would be
But
non-existent.
the high plan goes away.
There's,
So what is the deductible? 5 and 10?
Sorry about that. I thought I caught everything and that was what we needed when it was the 1.9.
Scott,
oh,
just
the
so,
RX,
you're
yeah.
clarifying. So option 1, the only changes is the co-pay, right?
Yeah.
So so going up to low plan on the schedule here.
Yep,
And option, down here doesn't say option 1, but it says changing it from 15 to 25. It always shows a savings of 532.
right.
So how do you get to 1 million if it's only 532?
Because if you look, if we eliminate the high plan,
Got it. Cool.
we could pick up the 530.
Thank you.
Option 1 is no high plan.
So, yeah. Now, again, if you, I mean, you could, you know, you could, I mean, you can plug and play, you know, but you do lose that 500,000, and that's, you know, again, you know, 3% of the population that's on
And
high.
Scott, going over option 2, are there any changes to that?
No.
The way it's written?
No, no, those are correct.
So the deductibles all stay the same, have 2 plan options, but the pharmacy
So
goes
now,
up.
option 2, the deductibles would go up.
Actually, go up.
They do go
And
up.
pharmacy.
In the pharmacy,
What about the co-pays?
no copays, no.
No.
What about what's
No.
paid, 70% or 80%?
Do what?
70?
it stays, it goes to 70? That's what it is right now, the low plan?
Yes, 70/30, Ms. Rachel, it's, the low plan is the 70/30 plan, the high plan is 80/20. With the high deductible for option 2, have a copay increase? For the doctors?
No, I kept that. I just kept that one the same,
So you
because
just
it doesn't,
increase-
because there's only 3 people in it, so it's not.
No, the high deductible.
So can I get some comments from the committee so that we can have a, proposal?
Because all options on the copay for pharmacy stays the same. I mean, it goes up, right, on all
Right,
the options.
yes.
So it's going up regardless.
Yeah, well,
I mean, if we
Yes.
go with one of those options, correct?
Yes.
At any option.
yes.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. So pharmacy's going up. So do
Regardless.
you also wanna lose your high-low option? That's,
Big question there, yeah.
right, that's,
Do you, yeah, because option 1 and option 2, option 1 is, you know, everyone can be in a low plan, no more high plan. Option 2 is, we can still fit in a low plan and a high plan. Difference in the savings there is about 22,000.
And your deductible goes up.
Yes, that's what it is on plan 2, the deductible goes up to 2,000.
From 250 and 4,500 versus 2,000, before 1,750 and 3,500?
There's a little more expensive.
So it does, so option 2,
But the norm is in
option 2,
option 1.
and if you think of it this way, option 2 has 2 things that go up, deductible and RX copay. Option 1 is just offering a low plan and the pharmacy going up, the deductible stays the same. So for 97% of the people, the only thing going up would be the pharmacy.
And the option employees will have, you know, with the increases of the co-pays, they can also increase their flexible spending
Right.
account. The Betty card, as people know it. So they can increase that if they're not already at the max. So they could offset that and that. And that's taken out, on a monthly basis. So if somebody wants to, contribute $1,200, it's $100 a month coming out of their paycheck. But the full 1,200 is fronted to them, you know, come, January. So it's not like they have to wait till the money's in there.
So the way that I see it is that there's only a certain percentage in high plan. So if we stick with plan B, with plan 2, that means most of the people are gonna get affected because their deductible is gonna go up.
right.
Correct.
If we stay in plan like a smaller percentage is gonna be deductible, will be affected because the rest of us will stay with the same amount. So to me, I would go with the norm of people, if you ask me my opinion, because option 2, I think it's gonna hurt a lot more people going up in their pocket.
97% of it
So
is.
there is a totalitarian, I like it.
Yeah, and what I'll say is, so for instance, in the family, if somebody had the high plan on the family, they're paying $11.64 a month. If they go to the low plan, they're paying $7.58. So essentially, they'd be about $4,900 less coming out of their paycheck that they could utilize.
Save more money on
They could utilize to make up for the lower deductible and the lower.
Yeah, because the high
Right,
plan,
yes.
They pay 162,
Yeah.
and if you multiply that by 12,
Right, again,
There's no
you're,
savings.
yeah, it's, right, and they're paying 162 as an employee on their, yeah, and so,
the premiums are a lot higher.
Yeah.
Yes, I think.
they can put that money into the penny fund.
absolutely,
They
they,
could.
right, yeah.
As long as they're not maxed out.
They either do that, or again, you could just keep it and then use it
But,
as you need to use it.
and just as a caveat, those paying 1,100, their tax sheltering back. So at 12, they're going to be on a different tax bracket, I think, than they are as well. So they may pay more taxes, you know. I mean, we don't have that many on there, but it could be a change in their tax status.
So any other comments, we got about 1 minute left before we wrap up the meeting. Any other comments, any ideas, thoughts?
So do we settle in on
Option one.
Option 1 and frontier to look at.
Head nodding on option 1?
So option 1 is just to keep one health plan, or, and keep the high deductible health plan?
No.
Or,
No, I just had it be in one.
okay.
We'll just come back around this one here next one.
we have some more time, and I'll show some.
Yeah, and as far as, yeah.
Like with ACA and.
Like there, you mentioned 3 years, a 3-year contract, is there any way that they would
I could,
make it more attractive?
So you looked into the RX,
yes, I'm gonna, with Frontier, I'm gonna look at the RX,
The pharmacy,
yep, pharmacy savings, how that.
like what's covered, compare our top 20 compared to what they have covered. Just to make sure that that's,
Absolutely, no,
you know, we don't want somebody to think, oh, it's covered over here, and it's
Yeah.
not.
so just to clarify before we end, we're looking at option one, right? We're gonna be adjourned for a discussion regarding Frontier. You'll let us know the timeline on that?
I just wanted to say a huge thank you to our employees, and that was the first day of
Yes.
school. Yay, thank you to the teachers. Yeah, thank you so much. Our first day of school is a little busy, but thank you all for prioritizing this. Great conversation today, and thank you for feeling comfortable and sharing your feedback. Yeah, that was so helpful.
This point in time, this meeting is adjourned.